I'm going to show you today how to make money so fast it feels sinful, but it's actually biblical. And all 3 steps I'm going to show you today are vital, and you have to do them in the right order or they're not going to work. If you would like to turn your hobby or your passion or your expertise into profits, I'm talking hundreds and even making thousands of dollars a day, then this video is going to help you. But one of the big roadblocks that so many people have is thinking that, especially many Christians out there, thinking that, well, I can't make money fast and I can't make a lot of it fast, or there's something sinful or ungodly about it. Maybe it means I'm even loving money. Now, I'm not encouraging you to love money today, don't worry, that's not any of the steps I'm going to be talking about today. But I understand and know what you probably are thinking, because I've been through that myself, and God's brought me through that situation, and that's how I'm able to do this and other stuff I do to help glorify God's kingdom. So the first thing that you need to do, this is the most significant, because without this you don't get to step 2 or to get to step 3, and that is that you need to believe that it's possible. So many Christians, so many people, in fact not even just Christians, believe that making a lot of money and making it quick is problematic. And let me just define some of my terms. So people typically make like a few $1,000s a month. It's more than possible for you to make thousands of dollars in a day if you know what to do. I remember I was thinking about this the other day. One of the examples of times where I made like money quickly, and I wasn't even fully like into the knowledge that I have now, obviously, or let alone like even in that season where that business that I started running was actually quite successful. So it was the morning, I was probably about 18, 19, and I made like £700. So that's like $1,000, $1,200 at the time, because exchange rate was really good at the time. It was like $1,200 in about 20 minutes. And I remember I was still like studying law at the time. I remember I made this money, it was like in the morning, and then I'm walking down the street. I think I was going to get a train or something to go like to school, to college, right? We call it university, it's college is the equivalent in America. And I'm walking down the road and I'm just like, I just made £700. I just made $1,000. And it was like in 20 minutes. It was so quick. That wasn't like the first shift. The first shift was just making any amount of money, like detached from clocking into a job and making money. It was just like, oh, you can actually make money online. These were some of the steps that I went through that made me believe, like tangibly, this was possible. Because before you receive it, you have to believe it, right? I like to say all the time, you cannot believe what you cannot receive what you don't believe. And this is my point. It's like, if you think right now to make thousands of dollars legally, you have to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week. And that's the only way that this is possible. These sorts of things will never become a reality for you. So the first thing you need to do is to understand that you have to believe that it's possible. Like when I think to myself, like biblically, like there's so many examples of this, but the example I want to talk about now is the Israelites who were in Egypt, who left Egypt, became wealthy in one day. You see, I just gave you one example. Many examples like that I can share, but that was one example that stands out to me of all the examples. And the reason that was so significant is because that was me doing something by myself, learning skills, actioning those skills, and also at the same time doing something, going down a pathway which so many people go down. Go to school, get a good job, work for 50, 60 years, retire. Like, the Israelites came out of Egypt and they went from poor slaves to wealthy, free people in one day. When they're leaving Egypt, when you read it, the Bible talks about how the Egyptians gave their silver and their gold to the Israelites. That was a one-day transformation. So I'm saying that to say, if you don't believe it's possible that as a believer you can change a situation rapidly, if you desire to, and if you have the right skills, then you're never going to get it. After you believe it's possible, the second thing that you need to do is you need to behave with power. Now this is significant. If you start behaving in a way that you don't believe, you're always going to revert back to what you believe in. That's how powerful our beliefs are, what we think, or what we feel, what we believe, like truly deep down in our heart. This is why belief is the first thing. You have to behave with power. So let me give an example. One example that comes to mind, like just powerfully, is Mary and Joseph. So Mary and Joseph, based on what we have in the Gospels, it's quite clear that they were poor. They weren't necessarily like the richest bunch. The big reason why most people, like scholars, we all think this is because when they came to dedicate Jesus after 40 days, it says in Luke's Gospel, in Luke chapter 2, that they brought an offering of 2 pigeons. When you go back to the original passage in Leviticus chapter 12, God said standardly you would give an animal, a lamb, for these sacrifices. You'd give lambs. But if you didn't have money, if you didn't have provision to sacrifice a lamb for this dedication, you could bring 2 pigeons. So it was a way. So when we see in the New Testament that Mary and Joseph were doing this offering with these pigeons, it's an indication which we imply from that they didn't have money. Because if they did have money, if they had more money anyway, at least, they would have given a lamb. Before I give you the punchline though, think about it. They were behaving with power. It didn't matter what their circumstance was. It didn't matter what the situation was. They didn't say, well, when I'm wealthy, then I'm going to behave like a wealthy person, powerful. I'm going to do what wealthy people do. They didn't say, well, because I'm in a poor situation, I'm just going to keep behaving like a poor person. No, they understood what the most righteous Christians you see all the way throughout the Bible understood, that physical things like money are not the most significant thing in the world. God is the most significant thing in the world. So it's important for us to focus on God at all times, regardless of what it seems like physically is going on, because we always have God with us. And with God with us, we are in the position of power always. Jesus is before Pilate, and Pilate's like, look, don't you know that I have the power to release you? And Jesus is like, look, my kingdom's not of this world. And you think about like the Garden of Gethsemane. There's all these people, like loads of people coming to take him. And he's like, look, I can call angels to fight for me if I really wanted to. Jesus wasn't in a position of weakness. He never behaved like that. He always understood that he was in the position of power. And it's the same thing we see with Mary and Joseph. But why is it so significant? I'm not telling you about Mary and Joseph being in a poor situation to end there. No, they went from poverty to wealth after one visit from the Magi. Because what did the Magi bring? We often hear this story of like, oh, the 3 wise men. Why? Because there were 3 gifts. It doesn't say that there was 3 wise men. What you're looking at there is a envoy. This was a show of homage and a show of respect. This is like common. You see it in the Bible. You see this in history. People would come and show respect to significant people. So think about, for example, when like Solomon, for example, the Queen of Sheba came. And it explains like she gave him so much gold, she gave him so many different resources. That's what it's like. Trust me, those gifts that they brought to King Jesus to worship him and to show homage, like it wasn't one little bitty bit of gold and some little frankincense and some little myrrh. They came to worship him, the Bible says. They gave him something which was transformational. How do you think they were able to finance their travels to Egypt and to go into different places, etc.? That was because of that visit. So the point is, when you believe it's possible, that allows you to behave with power, regardless of the situation. Mary and Joseph were still doing the things that God told them to do. Do this, do that, go here, go there. And when they were doing that, they were able to move closer and closer to what God desires for them. After you believe it's possible, after you behave with power, the next thing you have to do is to bank the profits. So many people make the mistake of making money and then just blowing it. I've been guilty of this in the past as well, right? But it's not the wise thing to do. You're not supposed to, like, you don't make money, you don't get all these things to just blow it. That's the foolish thing to do. I've looked over different parts of my life in the past, in previous years, and just been like, boy, Israel, you were a fool back then. But no more. Do the wise thing. Take the wise step. When you think back to think about it like this, right? There's an example like in Luke chapter 5, where Jesus fills up 2 boatfuls of fish. That was a lot of fish. The Bible talks about how their boats were basically about to sink. How much money do you think they probably would have made in that one transaction which happened very fast. I'm giving you that as a third example in today's video, just for you to realize that God can totally transform your life in one day. I spoke about this in a previous video where I was talking about how it's not too late for you to be great. Like, so many people think, you know, it takes more than a day. No, it doesn't take more than a day. God can change something in a second, but everything's going to always continue to come back to you focusing on Him and not on yourself. Bank the profits, don't blow them. There's a reason why, beyond you, why God is going to bless you. So God is blessing you when you follow Him to be blessed, yes, but also to bless people through you. So for example, if God blesses me with loads of money, for example, or loads of health, and I just waste it all, I go and spend it on silly stuff, and I don't take my health seriously, I've missed the mark. But if God has blessed me with financially, if God's blessed me with health, and I use my health to be a blessing to people like you and to other people, I use my resources, my wealth, to be a blessing to you and to other people, like recording videos like this, for example, teaching the Bible, doing other stuff, being present for my children, helping people. That is the right way to do it. This is why you, like, think about someone like Job. Job is super wealthy, and he's not harboring all this wealth just for himself. He's helping people, he's blessing people, and then he goes down for a season. God elevates him back even higher than he was before, so he's even wealthier, right? 2 times as wealthy as he was in the beginning of the book. And what do you think he's doing then? Again, he's helping people, because that's what God desires you to do. God uses his wealth to be a blessing. It's the same thing that we need to do when we are given wealth based on the decisions that we make. You need to believe, then behave, and then bank. I'm telling you, don't believe the lie anymore that you can't be rich and righteous. The moment you start believing what the Bible actually says, it will totally transform your life. This is why I want you to watch this video right here, because it's going to show you 5 lies that are probably stopping you from reaching financial freedom. Go win, and God bless winners.